Surely it shouldn't still feel this hard. Surely I shouldn't still be working on the same shit day in and day out. When do I step off this healing bandwagon? I hear you, babe. The therapy sucks and you've journaled until your hands have cramped. You're at the point where you've got breathwork, cacao, ice baths, retreats, nervous system books in your Audible, screenshots of posts that hit different, half-finished programs, full moon rituals, affirmations on your mirror, and could probably explain trauma responses better than your GP ever could. By now, you're probably sitting in the swamp of I honestly don't get why I ever started with something so real, so loud, that's going on inside of me. Why did I open up this huge can of worms? And why does it feel like I'm stuck on the same level of the game? Is this actually working? Does it ever click, or am I meant to be healing forever? If that's you, this episode is your mirror. Because what most women don't realize is that at some point your healing can quietly stop being a part of your journey and start being another identity that leaves you trapped in spiritual burnout. Somewhere along the lines, you have shifted from I'm going through something to I'm the woman who is always going through something, with ChatGPT overwhelming you as information overload and not the coach that gets you over the line. When your identity is coded around being the one who's still fixing herself, your system will keep dragging you back to that storyline no matter how much work you do. We're going to talk about that turning point and go deep into the moments when healing becomes a hiding place and how you shift from constantly processing into actually living in alignment with your higher self. But before we go any further, I want to share an acknowledgement to country, as this episode is being recorded on Gubbi Gubbi land, and I'd like to take a moment to pay my deep respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to honor all of the ancestral wisdom that the earth beneath me beholds. Wherever you're tuning in from, I invite you to take a moment for yourself to also acknowledge the land you're on too. The custodians, the stories, the songlines, the hands that cared for that place long before we arrived. And because we do things deliciously around here, if you can grab yourself something that anchors you in, maybe it's a yummy matcha, a cacao, a coffee, tea, lemon water, whatever your flavor is, wherever you are. This is your moment to land, to arrive in your body and in this conversation, fully connected to presence. Welcome to Rising with the Woman After, the podcast for self-led women and feminine leaders who are ready to become the CEO of their afterlife. The one that's been waiting for you to stop chasing the past, stop performing for the future, and finally rise into the woman you were always meant to be. Here we breathe, we rebuild, and we rise into the frequency of becoming the remembered self. Not who the world expects, but who your soul has been screaming for you to finally embody. Because your breath is your business plan. Your body is your blueprint, and your leadership begins within. I'm your host, Elise Small, author of The Woman After, somatic breath-led energetics coach and guide for women who've journeyed through the fire, gathered their lessons, and are now ready to rise beyond healing into quantum creation, embodiment, and remembrance of their highest timeline. Let's dive in. Let's drop in together. Just taking a moment to pause, to slow that heart rate down, taking a few breaths wherever they land, all in your own time here. All right, before we dissect your entire internal operating system, I want you to really land here with me for a second. Wherever you are, in the car, on a walk, at the sink with dishes, in bed scrolling, just see if you can loosen your body now by 5% after connecting to that breath. That's it. There's nothing dramatic. There's no force. Just seeing if you can unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders a centimeter, soften your belly, Continue to take a couple of those slow breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. Let your ribs expand and let the body get some air for once. Just following those breaths. And let that I should be further ahead by now tension go with every breath that you take. Okay. This breath right now, you can let it mark the moment where you actually stop performing and thinking that everything is all fine, and start being brutally honest with yourself. You're here, you made it into this space, and there is absolutely nothing to prove. No lies, just pure truth for anything that comes up for you. In this episode, we're going to get into self-worth, self-identity coding, and why they're the real gatekeepers to your highest timeline. We're going to be unpacking how your identity was wired into you long before you had any say in it. Why your nervous system keeps throwing you back into these old patterns even when you know better. And how healing can become a comfortable loop that actually keeps you from your next level. And furthermore, we're going to then go into how to start recoding your self-worth so you're not living as the before version of you in a life that is clearly calling in your after. By the end of this episode, my intention is that you can say with clarity, okay, I was never broken or in need of fixing, and definitely in need of a little more feeling and holding a vision in every part of me. And right now I'm still organizing my life around an identity I've outgrown. And you'll have a framework to start shifting that gently, powerfully, and fully on purpose. So let's go back for a second. Back into what psychologists call the imprint phase, roughly from birth to 7 years. I call it the years where the world writes its story on you before you know you're allowed to hold the pen. For me, afternoons look like this. The TV switched on, the news came blaring into the lounge room. Grown adults suddenly glued to a screen full of disaster, statistics, and opinions said like they were scripture. You could feel the room change. Shoulders tensed, voices got sharper, everyone's attention got sucked out there into this world that definitely wasn't inside our living room. And as kids, we'd be mid-story, mid-giggle, mid-question, only to be met with, shh, the news is on. Now in real time, that just seems like a normal household moment, right? But let's zoom out for a second. Through the lens of self-worth and identity coding, what this actually taught me were some very clear things. The world out there is more important than your inner world. What's happening on the screen matters more than what you're saying. Your voice comes second. Fear and urgency get the main stage always, and connection gets the leftovers. And I felt it. I hated it. I remembered thinking, even as a child, why are we listening to this crap instead of each other? And there is no denying I hated the news or any form of media, and still to this day detest it. Add in school systems that reward the compliant kid, media that sells you perfection and scarcity, especially at this time of the year, the subtle good girl messaging, old generational beliefs about money, love, success, and for me even more so, motherhood. It's no surprise when you quickly end up with a woman who looks all together on the outside, but deep down is running on codes like, don't rock the boat, don't be too much, don't need too much, don't ask for more, and definitely do not take up space. So when we talk about self-worth, we're not just talking about feeling confident. We're talking about all of those micro moments that trained you to question whether you're allowed to live fully and laugh loudly. Okay, let's bring the science in for a second, plain speak for everyone tuning in. Roughly 95% of your thoughts, reactions, decisions, habits, and patterns are run by your subconscious. And that's not the part of you that nods along to this podcast thinking, oh my gosh, yes, so true. It's the part of you that flinches when someone raises their voice, the part of you that feels sick when you raise your prices for the offerings you have poured your heart and soul into because you know the impact it was intended to have, and the part that stays in a relationship you know isn't right, because at least it feels familiar and comfortable. By about age 7, your subconscious has built a rough map of who you are, what you deserve, how safe it is to be seen, what love feels like, thanks Disney princess films, what money feels like, what happens when you speak your truth, and by now you can probably see the list goes on. That map is emotional, not logical. What your brain is actually doing here is that it starts to form these rapid patterns that get stored, whilst your body stores responses and your nervous system stores how safe each of these things feel. So fast forward to now, you're listening to podcasts about quantum leaping, you're journaling about your higher self, you're visualizing your dream life, which is all well and good, but your internal system still holds the beliefs of being visible equals danger, money equals inconsistent, stressful, not for people like us. Love equals me over-giving and them under-functioning. Speaking up equals conflict, rejection, and a whole lot of drained energy from over-explaining, and you might as well be doing it in a made-up language at the same time because, let's face it, no one understands you. So this is where the glitch happens. You get to this point where you've upgraded the vision, but you're still running the Nokia brick software underneath, and I hate to break it to you, but your body will always choose what feels safe over what looks good on a vision board. And just allow that to land for a moment. I'm also going to throw in here that this is not because of a lack of discipline. It's because you haven't recoded the identity that's running the show. And here's where I'm going to call all of that out and call it like it is, because let's be honest, I'm not here for the surface level rainbows and butterflies. I never have been and I never will be. There's a point on the journey where healing becomes the best socially accepted way to hide from your next level. You're celebrating because you're not numbing out on Netflix or partying every weekend anymore, honoring that was your old coping mechanism that has officially not even crossed your mind. And now it looks different. And you should be celebrating that. Well done to you. But now it seems like seeking and outsourcing all of this knowledge that you hold within you by clicking and subscribing to one more program, one more certification, one more book, one more round of shadow work, and a whole lot of I'll launch after this next healing thing, or I'll leave when I've worked on this a little more. So by now it's pretty clear to see how healing then becomes this new identity. And I'll give you an example of what this looks like as well. Maybe you might be saying things like, I'm the woman who's always working on herself. I'm still not ready yet, or I just need to fix this one last thing before I can really go for it. And it's so sneaky because everyone applauds it. And why shouldn't they? I mean, you look self-aware, doing the work, going deep into your becoming, you're committed, you're determined. But if we're really honest, sometimes the identity of the consistently healing woman feels safer than being the woman who's actually living the life that she wants. And here's what I've learned from my own lived experience and seen time and time again with the beautiful people I have coached. If you're always in process, you never have to put the new identity on the line. You never have to risk failing as your after self, and you never have to risk success, changing your relationships, your money, or your life. So yes, healing is an important part of your expansion, and we do need to honor it. We do need it to be able to discover what it's truly like to be in touch with our intuition, our feeling body, our emotions in action. But when your entire sense of self is wrapped around being the one who is still not there yet, that's not healing anymore. That's hiding. Before we go any further, I want to take a quick breath break with you, because what I'm about to say might just be the reminder you didn't know you needed. You don't have to rise alone. That's why I created the After Circle, a community built for women just like you, walking this same path of remembrance and reclamation. It's not a Facebook group lost in the scroll or a chat thread full of noise. It's a community app, a living, breathing sanctuary where we come home to ourselves again through breathwork, reflection, and real conversation. Inside, we gather for rituals, life circles, and integration practices that meet you wherever you are on your journey. There's no performance here, no pretending you've got it all together, just women showing up raw and real and being witnessed as they rise. So if your heart's been whispering, I need that, this is your invitation. Take a deep breath and walk through the door. The link's waiting for you in the show notes below. I wanted to amp this up a little by bringing this into something you can actually see. This is where the Arise method comes in, a framework I live by and teach in my spaces. It's also woven between the pages of my debut book, The Woman After. And it's how you move from I'm always healing to I'm building my afterlife in real time. And so we start with the letter A. A is for awareness. And this is the moment you stop gaslighting yourself and actually admit what's going on. Awareness sounds like, I notice every time I get close to my next level, I pick a fight or create a distraction. I notice I keep calling myself a hot mess like it's cute, but it's actually capping me. I notice I'm more comfortable talking about my wounds than owning my power. In this space, we don't judge it. We simply own it and see it for what it is. And then we move on to R, which is for regulation. And this is where breath, somatics, and nervous system work come in. Because once you see the pattern, your mind wants to either shame it or sprint ahead and fix it. And trust me, neither of them work. Regulation is you telling your body, yes, this is super freaking uncomfortable, but at the same time, we're not in danger. We can use longer exhales and offer in different types of grounding that work for you. And this could look like a moment outside with your feet in the grass or running your hands under some cold running water. It's where we are feeling instead of running and letting your system know that new doesn't equal death. Then we move on to I, and I is for integration. If awareness is the light switch, integration is actually walking into the room. Most people stop at, I had a breakthrough and I feel like I've been fixed, or I had these downloads and I learned what I needed to. But integration is, I'm going to do something 1% differently today. And maybe that's implementing and communicating that one boundary or having one hard conversation, one micro upgrade to how to speak to yourself, or one action that matches the woman you're becoming, not the one that you're leaving behind. This then brings us to S for surrender. And this is a part that makes high achieving women twitch. And this is where we go into the void. Yep, I feel it and I see it in everyone's body the second I mention it, but it's actually become one of my favorite places to work from. It's where we get to let the old identity go and start to visualize and see all of the wonderful atoms and subatomic particles and cells all merge together to activate the new one that doesn't feel stable enough to arrive and stay for good. It's where you're not who you were, and nor are you fully where you're becoming either. So surrender is where you stop trying to control tower your entire life and still show up, taking aligned action and stop strangling the timelines together. Then there's E, and E is for expression. This is where it gets fun. Expression is a new identity leaking into how you speak, how you walk into rooms, who you text back, what you tolerate, what you charge, and how you hold your standards, not as performance, but as your new normal. And this is when people start saying things like, oh wow, you actually seem different. Something has changed. I can't quite put my finger on it, but you are absolutely freaking glowing. That's a rise in motion. Okay, real talk for a second here. If it's safe, I just take this opportunity now to invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze. But if you're driving or walking, please just stay present and do this in your mind, and you can come back to this part later. But for those that aren't, take a slow inhale through your nose for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale through your mouth for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. Now bring up one area of your life that is doing your head in right now. Try not to overthink it. It's the thing that you say you're working on. And maybe it's your money blocks and scarcity mindset, your love life, your business or career growth, your body, your voice, your motherhood moments that are a whole lot less triggered. Just pick one and ask yourself straight up, what's the story I keep telling myself here? And maybe it's something like, no one ever chooses me. I've always had to do it on my own. I'm not good with money. Money doesn't come to me easily. I'm too much, or I'm not enough. And then my invitation to you is to simply name it out loud if you can, or simply just address it in your mind, whatever feels comfortable and good for you. That's it. And now we're going to start to regulate this by bringing one hand to your heart, one hand to your lower belly. Okay, we're going to breathe into that story. The intention here is not to erase it, but to stop letting it run the show from the shadows. Inhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here in this moment, let your body know we are safe to see this. And now let's integrate it. Asking yourself, what is one tiny move the woman after would make differently here today? What is one tiny move the woman after would make differently here today? Not next year, not when everything is perfect, not when it's the right time. Just here in this moment. Don't censor the answer. It's the first thing that lands, because this is usually the truth. Okay, you can open your eyes or come back to wherever you are. Just take a moment here to celebrate that you've done some work and that you have hopefully some parts that you can really start to bring to life for you. And look, I'm not going to lie, this is not glamorous work. It's not a montage. It's one honest moment at a time. Here's the core truth I want you to walk away with from this episode. And if there are moments that have absolutely landed, I want to invite you to drop it into the comments or send me a message and let me know what you would love more of. This podcast was created for you, and I truly value all of your feedback. So don't be shy to raise your hand and drop it in with a personal convo with me. I'd love to hear from you. You are not stuck because you haven't done enough healing. You are stuck because your life is still built around an identity that was wired for survival and not purpose. So, of course, you became the good girl, the caretaker, the high achiever, the one who holds everyone, the one who has it all together, and not because it's your destiny, God no, but because that's what kept you safest in the room you grew up in. The woman you are becoming, your after self, the CEO of your afterlife, isn't built from those same old rules. They don't work for you anymore. She doesn't organize her entire world around not upsetting anyone. She doesn't worship struggle as proof she's doing life properly. And she doesn't live in I'm still fixing myself land forever. So if right now you feel restless, emotional, like your tolerance for bullshit has dropped, like you're outgrowing conversations, like you're in between worlds, you're not failing. That's evidence that your old identity is glitching because it cannot hold the frequency you're moving into. And no, you're not losing your mind. You are losing your old self. And that is allowed to happen. So as this episode comes to a close, I want you to hold on to one question and ask yourself this now. or life will get too busy again and you won't come back to it. Trust me, I know what it's like. Okay, here we go. If I stopped identifying as the woman who is always working on herself, who would I let myself be this week? And I'm not asking for a 10-year plan here. We're just focusing on this week. Let that question sit on your mirror, your notes app, your heart, whatever works for you around the house so that you can start seeing it and training the reticular activating system to really start to anchor into who you are becoming. If this has been hitting home, if you're listening and thinking, yep, that's me, I am so done looping, I'm ready to actually be the woman after, not just heal towards her, then I want to invite you into the space where we take this deeper together. I've just opened up access to the replay of my self-concept identity shift workshop, where we went deep into mapping out your before identity and your after identity, exposing the subconscious codes, beliefs that have been quietly running your worthiness, using breath and somatic work to create genuine safety for your new self-concept. And exclusively, I've offered an actual insight into my afterlife mentorship with identity codes you can keep working with long after we log off. This access is all yours if you're committed to going all in on your new identity, restructuring all of it so that you can get your beautiful self out of the cupboard that you're trying to hide away in as an escape from the evolution that's waiting for you, or simply ready to stop circling the same lessons and actually move into the timeline you keep seeing in your visions. The link to access is sitting in the show notes below. What I have put together is not another feel good and forget it masterclass. It is an identity recalibration. As always, if this episode landed for you, share it in your stories, send it to the friend who is always doing the work, but forgetting she's actually allowed to live her life too, and tag me so I can cheer you on and see who's in this with us. From my heart to your heart, I see you and thank you for being here and being the drive behind this podcast, breathing its way into existence, because I know that you are not here to stay in the waiting room of your own life. You are not here to heal forever and never arrive. You are here to arise. You're here to build your afterlife. You are the woman after. I'll see you in the next episode.